Welcome to the BioMedWire Podcast, powered by IBN. This original audio production delivers market and sector insights, as well as exclusive interviews with innovative executives shaping the future in fast-moving industries, and may feature a client partner of IBN or one of the 60-plus investor-focused brands within IBN's dynamic brand portfolio. As a multifaceted financial news and publishing company, IBN leverages its extensive distribution network, utilizing multiple proprietary corporate communication tools to introduce both public and private companies to a vast and diverse audience of investors, consumers, influencers, journalists, and other targeted segments of the public. IBN may have received compensation to produce this audio content. Please be sure to read IBN's entire disclaimers for full disclosures. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the next revelatory episode of IBN's BioMedWire podcast.
Hi, and welcome to another exciting show with me, Carmel Fisher. Today, we are covering intelligent biosolutions. As you know, we bring you all the intelligent updates because we know that the markets are exciting, they're volatile to say the least, but also it's important that you do your due diligence, and this is why we bring you updates from breakthrough companies. One of those, NASDAQ listed as INBS, is Intelligent Biosolutions. I have with me President and CEO Harry Simeonidis. Harry, welcome.
Hi, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Excited to obviously dive a little deeper into intelligent bio, a captivating market space that you're in. As a start, give our viewers and our listeners an overview of what the company is about and perhaps just the overall vision.
Oh, absolutely. Look, we're a NASDAQ company listed, as you actually said, and what we bring is a unique technology to the market in the drug screening arena. And what we have is a product that actually detects drugs which is in your system from the sweat of the top of your fingertips. So it's a whole new way of actually doing drug screening for people that come to work every single day. Now, one of the things is we are listed in the US, and our manufacturing and our proof of concept kind of market was in the UK. So we initiated this product out of the UK, and we've been expanding this product over to approximately 20 different countries as we expand our product portfolio and our install base. Our goal is to be in the US, and we've actually listed in the we've actually submitted our FDA process, and we are expecting to be in the US once we clear the FDA in the second half of the year. So we are a non-invasive technology company expanding globally with a lot of growth and revenue.
Wonderful, great recap. But Harry, you entering a massive market, the global drug screening market, projected to reach around just under $30 billion by 2030. Your fingerprint sweat technology, as you mentioned, is fundamentally different from traditional urine and saliva tests. What convinced you that now is the right time to disrupt this established industry, and how are you overcoming the inevitable resistance from organizations comfortable with the existing testing methods?
Well, like I said, we have done a proof of concept in the UK, and what we found is there is little resistance from companies actually taking on a technology because it's changed the way that they can actually screen their employees on a day-to-day basis. Because it's very non-invasive, and you can capture the results and what you need within 10 minutes. So you can screen an employee before they actually start work within 10 minutes. And this is a total game changer in the market. And not only of that, it's so simple to use. You don't need complex systems in places, and it's very affordable. So our adoption rate has been very, very fast. On that aspect. So we see very limited resistance. The market is growing, and it will continue to grow, because one of the biggest reasons we're seeing is as we're legalizing drugs more and more globally and in the US, more and more people actually taking drugs. So there is a big need to screen employees to ensure that they're not impaired on the day they start work, or they begin the shift, or they're driving their bus, flying their plane. So resistance is minimal, growing market, very exciting space.
Awesome. And obviously you mentioned the submission of the FDA 510K application in December of last year. We know you've just mentioned as well that over 70% of adults with substance use disorders are employed, according to SAMHSA data, that the US represents a huge opportunity. This is why you're so bullish on making that, taking that next step. But what's the go-to-market strategy, right? Once you get the FDA approval, and just elaborate on that, but also how you will compete against any entrenched players in safety critical industries like construction, transportation?
Absolutely. Look, one of the things that we actually find is there is a huge need, as we said, in terms of the drug screening market, and the US represents our biggest opportunity. The US alone is as big as the rest of the world. So it's a huge market and it is a growing market on that aspect. One of the ways that we're going to enter into the US market is partner with distributors and current people that are playing in this market today. They know the customers, they know the install base, they know how to navigate that minefield. So we're already starting to talk to potential distributors, laboratories that can actually hit the ground running with our product. Okay. And what you find is a lot of the players today, they do offer sweat or they offer urine. But when they find that there's a better way to do it, cheaper and faster to do it, they will roll this out to their customers and then to their install base. So we're already starting to do kind of a soft launch. We're actually doing some work with SmartTox. They are a major distributor for us. They play in the justice arena. And what we're finding is they're starting to educate the market as well. But once we get that FDA clearance, which is key for us, is what you will find is we'll increase our marketing campaigns, our social media. We just got to get the message out. Once people know about the product, the adoption rate is very, very fast. There's no real resistance that I actually previously mentioned.
Incredible. So just a matter of education and awareness. Well, looking at Q3 results, it shows cartridge sales now represent 58% of total revenue, up from 49%, which is brilliant for margins and recurring revenue, which also reminds me of the classic razor and blade model.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How are you balancing the initial hardware deployment with maximizing cartridge adoption? And what's the target mix as you scale to thousands of customers?
Our goal is very, very simple. It's getting more and more razors out there, okay? And it's increasing that install base. What you will find is currently out of the UK, we're approximately about a $3 million revenue just out of the UK. And that's just one country alone. Actually adopting that model across multiple regions as we start getting into areas in terms of Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia, we will find that that growth will happen. And that revenue mix in terms of either the hardware versus the consumable, which is the cartridge, you'll always see that fluctuate. Going forward. But our biggest goal is to increase that install base, and the cartridges take care of themselves in the background. So the goal is install base, growth, penetrate new markets, new regions, and then eventually into the US.
Speaking of growth, you've grown from 400 to over 450 active accounts across 24 countries with 91% year-over-year gross profit growth. Yet still showing a net loss, as we saw there, but you're expanding into multiple languages, new partnerships, as you mentioned, in Spain, Europe, the Middle East. How do you balance this aggressive international expansion with the path to profitability, especially as you prepare for the capital-intensive US market?
And that's the secret in terms of how do you do that balance. We need to grow, and investment in terms of growth is very, very key for us. But we do see a pathway in terms of our break even. We expect our break even, as we said, is our break even point is approximately $12 to $15 million revenue, depending on the mix of the actual revenue. And that's only replicating UK 3 to 4 times. So we can see that pathway 18 months to 24 months, worst case, and that's without the US. So as soon as we get the US market opening up, once we get FDA clearance, that break-even point will be very, very fast. But it's key for us to continue to invest, but we're investing smartly in terms of areas, right? We're not putting on major workforces in place. We'll do that via distributors as we enter into the market. So the initial capital outlay that we had originally in terms of manufacturing, marketing, that doesn't need to continue to expand that aggressively because we'll be leveraging different distributors. So we're seeing that profitability. Our key, we always kind of keep our eye on that gross margin to increase and that's the key for us. So focus on growth, get that install base up, get those cartridge sales up, and then you'll see that break-even point coming faster than we expect.
Awesome. Let's take a look now at technology differentiation. Like your fingerprint sweat technology detects drug use within 16 to 24 hours and delivers results in under 10 minutes. That's pretty impressive. It's a game changer, actually, for fit for work testing, right?
Yep.
Beyond workplace safety, you're now working with smart docs in forensic applications and justice settings. What other applications are you exploring for this technology? How might this platform evolve beyond drug testing into other areas of rapid non-invasive diagnostics?
And so that's a great question. And if you ask my R&D team, they continuously want to explore into new areas, and they are playing around in areas. But the focus for us is very, very key. The first stage is we are going to just ensure that we break even and enter into the drug screening market. It's a product that works. We know we've got the technology. That's the key focus for us. But in the background, we know there's other applications, and we have played around, and we know that we can do areas like sports medicines, like ketone analysis we can actually do, which will give the ability of a person to test via the sweat of their fingertips in terms of if they've entered into ketosis. We all know that everyone's on these these dieting plans, and they want to get into ketosis states. That's one area. Fertility is another area. Today, a lot of people look at in terms of fertility, if they're pregnant or not, they have to do a urine sample. Look, I'm sure that people, if there's a better way to do it, they'll do the tips of their fingertips rather than having to urinate on a strip. It's very, very, very messy. It's very archaic, if you ask me. And then other areas in terms of hormones. So there's multiple areas. Anything that you can actually detect using sweat today, we could actually potentially do that within the fingerprinting technology. But again, huge area of expansion, lots of opportunities, but our key focus here is the drug screening market. As you said, $22 billion market and growing significantly. There's a lot to do in that space first.
Indeed. So just let's touch on who's leading this whole cause, which sounds very exciting to say the least. Tell us more about your history. Your career spans 25 years in the space, or very complementary spaces. Tell us more about your position, your history, why you're excited about leading this charge, and a little bit more about your team.
Okay, now, so for me, well, it's actually getting on to 30 years now as we go through. So I've been in the medical area about 30 years. I spent approximately 25 years of that in the diagnostic space with GE Healthcare. So I've got a huge understanding in terms of the diagnostic space, in terms of providing great technologies, in terms of monitoring, diagnosing, and getting into that early health space. Very, very key for us. But what I did find is, and this is one of the reasons why I joined the company, there is a need to have more and more non-invasive and access to great technology closer to the patient. Okay, and the ability to actually self-test or test on-site or where you need the test is key for us. So that's what gives me great excitement in terms of the overall area, in terms of this great technology. Our team, got our CFO, huge experience in terms of not only in terms of the medical area, but he's a lawyer as well, understands the US market very well on that aspect. And then we have got a global team, and the global team is very important when you are expanding into multiple areas, including people in the US, but we've got people in the UK, we've got people with multiple backgrounds and understandings and experience. And everyone that comes to work has this passion to bring this product to market because it's so simple to use, it's so easy, it's non-invasive, and it will change the way that we do testing and drug screening. And the key area which everyone gets excited and I get very passionate about is what we do today is we screen individuals, we do a test, and then they will go back to work. And then the result will come 2 to 3 days later, and they say, oh, well, that person was impaired or they were high. That defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. The key thing here is we have to screen people before they start that shift, before they drive our kids to school, before they fly their plane. We should be clearing people for fit for work rather than just doing a test and then checking up if the person was high or under the influence 2-3 days ago. So it defeats the purpose. And that's what brings every single employee to work every single day, is because we know we can save lives by this great technology.
Amazing. And we look forward to keeping up with those developments as they unfold. I've had a great conversation with you, Harry Simeonidis, President and CEO of Intelligent Biosolutions. Stay tuned here with us, and you can catch more on Intelligent Biosolutions on NASDAQ, INBS. Stay tuned for more.
The BioMedWire Podcast is an original content production powered by IBN, a multifaceted financial news and publishing company that delivers next-generation corporate communication solutions. Utilizing proprietary corporate communication tools such as news aggregation and syndication, social communication, and brand awareness techniques, among others, IBN introduces both public and private companies to diverse audiences to enhance reach and recognition. IBN may receive compensation for services and solutions provided to its client partners. You should assume that the owners, officers, and directors of IBN or financial analysts mentioned in this production may hold a position in and may intend to trade the securities in their own accounts. This production is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell any securities that may be mentioned in this production. The information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be or should it be construed as investment advice. As in all investments, investment in the featured companies carries inherent investment risk. Listeners should review the companies thoroughly with a registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This production by IBN is not purported to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used in statements of fact have been obtained from featured companies and other sources but not verified nor guaranteed by IBN as to completeness and accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice. Please see IBN's full disclaimers and disclosures at www.ibn.fm/disclaimer. Music in this episode is by Infraction. For more, visit inaudio.org.